This is something that often gets hotly debated on my YouTube videos in the comments, and that is, are your Filipinas family your responsibility? Well, in my view, it really depends on what one believes that term to mean. To one person, it could mean something totally different to another person. And of course, some people are naturally more generous and giving than others. I have some pretty firm views around this, as I'm sure most of us do, and I'll call it exactly as I see it shortly. So be sure to stay with me here. Before we dive deep into the video, if you get some sort of value from the video or channel, then be sure to like and subscribe, which I would greatly appreciate. Okay, here we go. Now the question really is twofold. Firstly, should you be responsible for your Filipinas family? And secondly, if so, at what point should you become responsible? After all, one wouldn't expect that after a few days or even months of dating a Filipina that you would be feeling responsible for them. In my view, that would be totally ludicrous. So talking around if one should feel responsible for your Filipinas family, the way I see it is that any responsibility one may feel will grow over time as the family accepts him and he accepts the family. Naturally, connections may grow, and as such, a foreign guy who lives in a country where he's able to help his Filipino family more may feel more responsible to help or assist, especially in the case of emergencies. Not because he feels it's forced upon him or it's the right thing to do, but because he feels in his heart that he truly wants to help those he cares about when they're experiencing a difficult time. My strong view is that if one feels forced to help out, then he's doing it for all the wrong reasons, and really, he may want to evaluate himself and why he's dating a Filipina in the first place. Let's lay our cards out on the table here and be totally honest. If you're going to be in a serious relationship with a Filipina, and I'm talking about engagement and marriage here, then if you love her, you need to take into consideration her feelings around her family. Her family most likely may be struggling for money and for sure won't be living the rather comfortable lifestyle that you currently have. Part of the unwritten contract is that we all have some sort of obligation towards our wife and hence towards her family. But to what degree should we feel responsible or have such an obligation? After all, it's great to help out, but by the same token, we don't want to be taken advantage of either. And certainly, we don't need to be solving every problem or paying for the family's lifestyle. Some Filipinas will work very hard, whether it be in a foreign country or in the Philippines, to be able to help out her family on a regular basis, which is an admirable quality of many Filipinas. But there certainly must be limits here, and whilst I would say one shouldn't feel responsible as such, it's nice to be able to help out when it's clear they have situations that arise that they may be struggling with. For example, in recent times due to the COVID crisis, many Filipino families are struggling due to having no work and no government assistance to help with food, etc. So in this case, I do think it's reasonable to help out until the crisis passes and the family are able to resume making their own money again. Now, I'm not saying to fund an extravagant lifestyle here, but simply have compassion for your in-laws or future in-laws at a time when they're really struggling. And other situations like emergency medical treatment may also be times when they'll need some extra help. To me, after being married to a Filipina for 7 years and getting to know my Filipino family, for whom I care greatly about, I'd be more than happy to help out in such difficult situations where I know they couldn't manage themselves in a much harsher country. And equally, if my mother here in Australia was ever needing urgent help for any reason, of course, if I was able to help, I would do as much as I possibly could. Simply, that's what we do with good grace when we care for someone, and certainly it should be no different for your Filipino family. Even if you're one of the few foreign guys that don't like his Filipino in-laws, I believe that's where human compassion and understanding for your Filipino fiancé or wife's feelings should take priority over your own. Otherwise, my best advice is don't start something with a Filipina in the first place. So now for the second part of the question to answer, and that is, at what point in the relationship do we say, now it's okay to feel a little bit more responsible for the family and help out a little where we can and as needed? I touched on this a little earlier, and certainly in my view, it's not in the first few days, weeks, or months. Remember that they managed okay before you came along, and if they're putting pressure on your girlfriend to get money from you, then that's certainly not okay. And one must know right here that this sort of thing certainly does happen. You need time at the start to focus on your new girlfriend or wife to build the relationship with no undue pressure on your girlfriend to be asking for money or for you to be pressured in this way. That will only cause suspicion as to what her real motives are and could seriously turn you off the relationship altogether. I do see guys in the first few months, for whatever reason, who are happy to give much money and help every time a request comes in from a family member. I guess he may have a good heart and wants to try and make a difference in these people's lives, but doing so at that early stage is risky, and it's well before any natural and genuine connection has been formed. Not just between you and the Filipina, but also between you and the family. Speaking for myself, the only time I felt somewhat responsible, for use of a better word, was when I married my wife. I had time to cement my relationship with her, and also over time I got to know and love my new Filipino family. And I admit, prior to that I didn't feel responsible for them in any way, and I believe that's how it should be. And prior to that I wasn't thinking to myself, should I be more generous to them or am I being selfish? Simply, over time, the feeling of warmth and love for my new family grew on me. Rest assured that it was never forced on me in any way, and I saw many of her family who were kind and caring people that welcomed this strange foreign guy into their family with open arms. And no to all those skeptics out there. It wasn't because I was a foreign guy who they viewed as being rich, but because I married their daughter, sister or niece, and that was the only criteria for them to welcome me into their family. As I slowly learned more about them, that connection and fondness grew to the point where now it would worry me and devastate me if anything happened to any one of them. So of course, if I see them struggling in any way and we can help them out, then for sure we'll help them out, because that's what people do who truly care for one another. Doing anything else, in my view, is not caring for your Filipino fiancé or wife, and really, it's rather a selfish attitude. So to answer my own question around, are your Filipinas family your responsibility? My simple answer to that is no. But you are responsible for your Filipina and how she feels. And if she's worried or has concerns over her family, then that's something you need to help her become more at ease with. But as I say, for most of us, we'll form a tight connection with the families and want to help out where possible, especially through the tough times. So what about you? Do you help out monthly yourself or in emergencies? And if so, at what point in the relationship did you start doing so? I'm very interested to read your comments. If you're looking for more information and tips around building a strong and meaningful relationship with a Filipina, then be sure to check out the playlist on screen now. Be very sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.